Hello and welcome back to our Make and Take series where this month we are going to explore data trackers. My name is Sarah Wood and I'm an educational technology consultant at Kent ISD, and I'm including my contact information here in case you have any questions as you're working through this Make and Take and you would like someone to talk through. I'm happy to do that, so feel free to reach out to me at any time. And if you've been following this series for a while, you know that this idea of the Make and Takes is not my original idea. And I highly recommend going over to Gold EDU and checking out their Make and Takes, as they're always adding to their series as well. And you probably also know, if you've been following the Make and Take series, that you will need to join the Google group in order to have access to the files that are shared today so that you can edit them and add your data tracker to the Make and Take series as well. This will also send you emails when there's upcoming Make and Takes and allow you to connect with a community of like-minded educators. If you haven't joined the Google group yet, head over to the link that's shared here and click on that Ask to Join Group button. And within 24 hours, I will approve that request. And believe it or not, we are more than halfway through the Make and Take series for this school year. We've done some Google Forms headers, Jamboard activators, digital stickers, computer science EDU reps, and SEL check-ins. And we have several more sessions that are coming up, so stay tuned for more information about those. Our big concepts today, as far as our what and our why go, is that we are going to focus on making a data tracker, which is essentially just a spreadsheet that allows you to track data that can be helpful in enhancing your teaching, documenting student learning progress, or whichever way you choose to apply your data collection. And the reason why we would do this is that not everything that we need to collect data from on is captured in a student information system, so that this can be a helpful way of collecting and organizing and sorting that data that you need for your personal use. And as always, I have some standards here for you, my text, if you are using something similar to this with your students, and ISTE standards for educators if you are using this for your own professional growth. I feel like the theme of this Make and Take series for the whole school year is that it should just be, there is no one product that is going to look exactly the same, and there is no one way for me to tell you how to make this. And I think that's also the really great part about this. So I'm going to show you a couple examples here of trackers that I have used. The first one is an example of a PD tracker that I've done as a consultant, where I have to turn into our PD hub and show information for PD that people have completed, so you can get those lovely sketch credits. So this is kind of a behind the scenes look of something that I submit. Another example here is using it as a checklist to keep track of where you're at in a process. So for today, we are going to be using Google Sheets. And I know from conversations that I've had with teachers that sometimes Google Sheets comes across as a very intimidating thing, and it doesn't have to be. I'm going to show you some basic things for getting you going, but you will also notice that a lot of the items that are on the menu bar are very similar to ones that you've seen in Google Slides and in Google Docs. So hopefully that eases some stress that the fact that we're using Google Sheets might bring to you. So hang with me. I'm going to walk through these things, and remember, I do have my contact info at the front. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to do a Zoom or whatever you might need to help you work through your creation of your data tracker. So the first thing we are going to take a look at is the toolbar, and I just want to point this out because it is a little bit different than the one that is in Docs as well as the one in Slides, because some of these are more specific to data, and that's what Sheets does really well. So you'll notice that there's some different formatting options and some alignment and things like that. So just keep in mind where these items are and feel free to use this as a reference. So the first thing I'm going to show you, which you might find helpful, is the ability to resize your rows and columns. And to do so, all you need to do is to click on the line, either between your row or column, whichever one you want to resize, and click and drag to resize. So that's a quick, easy way to do that. Or what you can do is you can right click on a row or a column identifier, such as like the A, B, C, and the columns are the 1, 2, 3 in rows, and then choose Resize Row or Resize Column. And the nice thing within Sheets is that you don't need to do each row or each column individually, and you can select multiple rows or columns by clicking on the Shift or Control key, and then clicking on those rows or columns, and then following one of the resizing techniques. Another feature that I frequently use is that of freezing rows and columns, and this is great when you have to scroll through a long list. So you can freeze that row by clicking on View and then Freeze, and this works for columns as well, and then simply choose what you would like to freeze. Another common feature that a lot of people will use when creating and manipulating all sorts of data is using the text to columns feature. And this is great, and I personally use this a lot when someone fills out maybe a Google form and there is a field that just says name. So people will put their first and their last name in there. But kind of when you want to go to manipulate something and maybe you want it in alphabetical order to make someone else's life easier, you would want to separate those columns so then you can easily sort that data. So to do that, just simply select the column in which you would like to split the data, click on Data, and then choose Split Text to Columns. And then you'll see that your data has automatically been separated. You do have an option to choose your separator, whether it's maybe you want to use a space or a comma or something else, but then it will automatically split your columns. Another super helpful feature is using text boxes. And to insert a text box into a cell, simply click on a cell, or you can select multiple cells that you would like to add a checkbox to. And then up on the menu bar, click Insert, and then select Checkbox. And then you can easily toggle back and forth on that checkbox by simply clicking it, or you can even click on the cell and press the space bar. And just as helpful as I find checkboxes, drop-down menus can also be an absolute game changer. And this is where you have a cell and then you click on it and you can choose from several predefined options. So in order to do that, click on a cell or a group of cells in which you would like to add a drop-down menu to each of those individual cells. And then on the menu bar, click on Data and then select Data Validation. So what you will want to do in that criteria section is probably choose the list of items and then add the items that you would want in that drop-down box, put into that box that's provided there, and just separate those by a comma. Then press the Save button, and then you can see how your drop-down menus automatically populate in those cells. And this is another game changer that I've shared with a lot of teachers, and the fact of using conditional formatting to give yourself a quick visual of data that's being presented. So what this will allow you to do is automatically change the color of a cell when a specific number or maybe a string of text is entered into that cell. So for example, if every time a student has a 1 entered for their data, maybe that cell will turn green. If maybe they have a 2, it will turn yellow, or a 3, it will turn red. So you don't need to go in and change those cells individually every time. Just know that if you put a 1 in there, it's going to automatically turn green, and it makes reading data so much easier. So to do so, just select the column or range of cells in which you would like to add that conditional formatting. And then on the menu bar, click Format, and then select Conditional Formatting. And then this is where you're going to have to do some playing around to make sure that the settings that you choose are applicable to what you would like to have happen. So on that Conditional Format Rules box, just make whatever selections you would like for your format rules, choose whatever formatting style you would like, and then press the Done button. And probably one of the most powerful tools of Google Slides is that of using functions. Sometimes I hear people say this is using equations or doing calculations, but this is where the magic happens. This is what makes Google Sheets work for you and not you working for Google Sheets. So just keep in mind that really what this is referring to is basically anything that's entered into a cell will have to begin with an equal sign for it to be recognized as a function in order for it to carry out whatever task you're asking it to. So you can click on a cell where you would want to add a function. And then on the menu bar, click Insert and then select Function. And this will provide you with a list of a bunch of different categories and functions where you can select what you would like and then enter your function's arguments. Press Enter, and then it will automatically do that calculation for you. For some of your more common functions, you'll notice that you don't necessarily maybe need to go to that insert and function, that it will start to become a little more intuitive to you, where you could do equals this cell plus this cell, and then press Enter, and it will do that formula for you. And now that I've shown you how to do a couple of things within Google Sheets, now I'd like to show you how you can make your link so that anyone who has that link can view your slide, because this is going to be what's helpful as we are doing the making part. So to get a link where anyone can view your sheet, click on that green share button. Under the Get Link section, change it to the appropriate permissions, and then press to copy that link. Now here is the absolute game changer part that you can probably even use with your students if you share out Google Sheets with them as it is. So in that example that's given there, you'll see that there is a blue URL with some green text at the end. What we are going to do is we are going to remove that green text and replace it with what is shown in red. Everything else stays the same, just that ending part after that /edit. And so what this will allow you to do is it will allow someone to preview your sheet and then make a copy of it instead of having to make a copy of it blindly, not knowing what you're looking at. So that's the great thing about this, is that you can preview and then make a copy of it, or using the template that you created. So this is what we are going to use for actually creating the links that we are going to share when we go into the making part and share on the slide deck. And like last month, this month we do not have all the individual boxes with subject areas and topics. We are all going to be working off the one same slide deck to capture all of these different data trackers. And the reason why I did this is I feel that regardless of whatever subject area you teach, you could probably apply some of these different data trackers to what you are doing. So when you open that data trackers Google slide, this slide deck is where we're just going to keep on adding to. The very first slide is how do you use this slide? So make sure that you take a look at that, and a couple of examples are already put in there so you can take a look at how to format that. And this is just helpful so that it's consistent and as far as how people are viewing and accessing those data trackers. And notice on step 4, this is the important part where I just showed you about that template preview. That is where you will want to make sure that you are putting your link on that green button there, that the link that you're putting includes that template preview. And as always, I have a timer here if you need to set a timer to keep yourself on track. And then you can jump into the taking it part. So now that you have maybe created or shared something that you have previously used, now you can take it. Look at what others have done. I know this is probably the most valuable part because we spend so much time doing formatting, getting things to do calculations with different functions and all that good stuff. But now this is the chance to make your life easier with taking through that template preview, taking a copy of what someone has done, and then changing it up for you. And lastly is the important part. If you would like sketch credit, this is super important for you. But even if you don't, I highly recommend filling out that evaluation that's on the slide here. That is super helpful for me in designing these make and takes, and I do read all the feedback. And I use it to make corrections for upcoming make and takes as well as new ideas. So please take a moment and do that once you've completed your make and take. And as always, I'm excited to see what you create, and I look forward to seeing you back next month.